Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. The Middle Tennessee chapter of the Society of Professional Journalists welcomes you to its 29th anniversary edition of the longest-running roast in Nashville history. Now that you've had your meal and consumed the wine, dined with the high and mighty, sit back, relax, prepare to enjoy our Gridiron Show for 90. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for your enjoyment, for your enlightenment, and most importantly, to give us time to change clothes between scenes, your host for the roast, backed by popular demand, primarily their own, please welcome our roast masters for the evening, now in living color and sometimes full registration, the lovely, the talented, the passionate Eddie Jones and John Siegenthaler.
John, I was sure wish they'd given us a script of that introduction. We'd have known when to come in.
That's right. Well, as late as the presses are these days, it's nice to be early for something. Here we are once again, back for our third year as roast masters for the Gridiron Show, Eddie.
Yeah, John.
I'll tell you what we'll do is we'll go out and come in again. And gosh, Eddie, you look younger than ever.
That's your line. And John, my line is, I sure wish I could say the same thing for you.
Well, now that you've embarrassed me, who shall we embarrass next?
Well, we've already embarrassed our wives, one and Dolores coming at you in these goofy-looking jackets.
Well, Eddie, everybody knows these days that black and white is out at the Banner in the Tennessean down at 1100 Broad. Color is in, We're just dressing to match our papers, front pages.
Okay. Well, I'd say we got those new presses cranked up just in time, John. If the local news gets any more colorful with, Bill and Tracy and Hank and Fate and Ned and Bridgestone, if the local news gets any more colorful, Mel Perry's going to be boycotting the Banner. But don't you have some announcements to make, John?
Yes, I do. On behalf of the members of the Society of Professional Journalists, and by the way, Eddie and I are both members of that organization, we're very pleased to thank all of you people here in the audience for your contributions to the Scholarship Fund and to announce to those who may be claiming to charge off the price of the ticket as a tax deduction that there is some information on that at the front door that was left there by Tony Alamo.
Speaking of contributions, John, did you see all the surveillance at the door tonight?
The police surveillance.
The police surveillance?
Well, that was just Tory Johnson's people. I mean, Tory is, as always, efficient and right on the job. He wants to be sure that Lee Beeman didn't buy Bill Boner's seat just to keep him away tonight.
John, just before I came in...
You have an announcement?
I have an announcement, but it was given to me a little note just as I came in, and this person may be in the audience. If the lady who left her 11 children with the babysitter at the Vanderbilt sorority house would please go and reclaim them. They're beating the Vanderbilt football team 24-0.
Eddie, I watched the other night, I saw that Hope Hines said that the Vanderbilt Boosters Club, its members are threatening to take over the Commodore football program.
I saw that, but the boosters, I think they're denying it, John.
Too bad. It would have been a definite improvement. One other announcement we need to make. As you know, the people here tonight are lucky. They will be able to go home tomorrow night and watch the fight on television between Buster Douglas and Evander Holyfield. You and I are going to have to be here with the big ticket players and do this all over again.
Well, that's true, John. Actually, I like this drinking bunch better than the eating bunch. They're a better audience.
They laugh a lot more, I'll tell you that.
But that fight tomorrow night's not going to be any problem tomorrow night, John. In the first place, we'll have tomorrow night Ludi Wallace and David Scobie will both be in the room. And we'll probably have a better fight here before the night's over than the one on television. Besides that, the same people who got the Tennessee football game piped into the Bridgestone Masterworks Gala, they're putting a TV set backstage tomorrow night, and we'll give the audience a regular update as we go on.
Well, we do that. We will do that. But right now, you know, we need to get on with this show. I don't think, looking out over this crowd, that they're ready for a 7-hour performance.
No, I don't think so.
And besides, thanks to Lee, Mayor Boner's not here tonight.
Where is he, John?
He's a little under the weather. He's suffering from exhaustion.
Or exposure.
Or both.
Well, what better way to begin than with the most up-to-the-minute breaking news, featuring some familiar television faces in a gridiron segment we call
Anchors Awry.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Eddie. Good evening, everyone. And in our news tonight, there is good news in the war against crime. Metro Police Chief Bob Kirshner reports rape, assault, and other crimes are down this year. And he hopes this improved behavior on the part of his officers will set a good example for the general public. Nashville Electric Service today responded to neighborhood groups protesting the installation of power lines near their homes. In a study released jointly by the NES and the TBI, the word is that being surrounded by electrical wiring is not hazardous to your health. If it were, says the study, several sheriff's deputies and half the state legislature would be dead by now.
Mayor Bill Boner and Tracy Peel, too easy. Metro Councilman George Armistead said today that he is requesting an appearance on John Siegenthaler's Words on Words television program. Armistead says he has completed his first book, and he plans to read another one real soon.
Speaking yesterday to a concerned citizens group, Councilman Ludy Wallace says he's moving to another part of Nashville after reading an article in the paper this week saying most accidents occur within 2 miles of your home.
In other council news, Metro Councilman at Large Buck Dozier was released from Madison Hospital this week following a 4-month convalescence. Dozier was beaten severely during the Gay and Lesbian Pride Parade this summer when he was mistaken for a skinhead.
Tennessee Adjutant General Carl Wallace has been in the news lately, and today new light was shed on his military career. Sources in the Pentagon reveal that during the Korean War, Wallace was personally responsible for destroying an ammo dump, 3 bridges, 2 tanks, and a Holiday Inn. Unfortunately, they were all located near Camp Shelby, Mississippi.
Warner Home Entertainment has announced the release of a new home video, the Carry System 30-Day Workout Tape. The Nashville landlady shows how to exercise in a walker while running from reporters and codes inspectors. She promises that within 30 days you will have enough strength to wrestle a rat and withstand eviction.
A 17-year-old student at Whites Creek High School today announced his candidacy for mayor of Nashville. The youth said the only reason he really wanted to run for mayor was because he thought it'd be a great way to meet chicks.
And finally tonight, a Nashville parakeet today files suit in Davidson County Chancery Court against the Tennessean and the Nashville Banner. The bird, known only as Petey, claims the newspaper's new offset printing process causes birds to be constipated. Well, the parakeet's attorney, Bart Durham, said his client has suffered because the newspapers that line Petey's cage are so colorful he doesn't want to poop on them. And now here's the weather.
Yes, it is weather time, and you know, predicting Nashville's daily temperature extremes is an exacting science, requiring considerable skill, precise measuring devices, and lots of luck, believe me. Here's how we'll determine what tomorrow's political and weather lows will be.
It's a really simple formula. You take yesterday's median temperature and you add the hours of Sheriff's Department employees' labor for Norman family businesses, subtract the misdemeanor charges against Ronnie Coward, divide by the number of times Mayor Boner has played Rocky Top in the last 2 years, and add the number of codes violations by Carey System. A large number.
All right, then you multiply by the number of timed traffic lights in Nashville that actually work. Subtract the combined press secretary salaries of Jeff Eller, Bill Fletcher, Pat Nolan, Tom Lee, Mike Kopp, and Rick Runyon. Add the total carat weight of Tracy Peel's engagement ring. And then you multiply by the square root of the mayor's passion record. Then subtract the hours of television exposure on Channel 8 for Ludi Wallace.
You got me. Okay, it is my turn. Divide by Tommy Burnett's inmate number. This trip, not the last one. And then you add the number of used cars sold by Ray Blanton this quarter. And multiply by the number of times tourists have mistaken Fermo de Pasquo for Elvis Presley, risen from the grave on Music Row. And subtract the number of tourists hopelessly lost on I-440. And then divide by the number of tourists hopelessly lost in the Opryland Hotel.
Be me. You add the number of pasties worn by dancers at Deja Vu and divide by 2. Multiply the number of songs by 2 Live Crew that Tipper Gore knows all the words to. Subtract the number of pigeons now flourishing in the Edge Hill area.
All right. Got your calculators ready? So fair or foul, the final figure reflects future forecasting phenomenon from your gridiron weathercasters. One thing sure, in the next couple of hours, the forecast is partly funny with a good chance of libel and slander by midnight. And now here's Gridiron Sports.
Metro school officials this week announced that all future high school football pep rallies would be held at the Metro Police Academy's gun range. School officials say half times will be extended by 15 minutes at all games to allow students extra time to reload their weapons.
Officials with the Nashville Motor Raceway say they hope to have their scoreboard repaired for action this weekend. The scoreboard took a number of direct hits during a legislative celebrity race last weekend featuring Senator John Ford. Ford, who shot ahead of his competitors early in the race, denies damaging the raceway facilities and blames the incident on rednecks who wouldn't let him pass.
Well, here's a related story. Former State Senator Frank Lashley is claiming to have won that same race. Now, as well as the Indianapolis 500, the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and the 1973 Pillsbury Bake-Off.
The U.S. Census Bureau has apologized to UT football coach Johnny Majors for leaving him out of the state population count. Majors was contacted this past Saturday night and informed he will now be included in the Alabama count.
The Australian sport of dwarf tossing is expected to be banned in Nashville by the Metro Council following a very ugly incident this week at the Gerst House. After a group of drunken patrons exhausted the limited supply of willing dwarfs, they started tossing Councilman Carney Patterson and Metro Finance Director Charles Cardwell. Both men attributed their lack of injuries to the padding provided by their elevator shoes.
And here's one I know nobody's going to believe. Nashville Sounds owner Larry Smino today took issue with critics who accused him of inflating Sounds attendance and population figures for Middle Tennessee. Smino said his figures for bringing a National League franchise to Nashville were right on the mark. He also wanted to thank all of you 14,000 people for attending tonight's Gridiron for your support.
Vanderbilt coach Watson Brown told reporters today there is no truth to rumors. The defensive secondary is made up of ex-parking lot attendants, which might account for their tendency to wave everybody on down the field. He did speculate they might come in handy for end-zone tailgate parties.
And UT football players recently accused of various grievous acts will not be kicked off the team. Coach Johnny Majors said he thought about it, but he hadn't been able to find a kicker all fall.
Well, we'll switch to hunting now. With the fall hunting season approaching, Outdoors made news today when Tennessee House Speaker Ed Murray said he is against legislation proposed by the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency, which would bring stiff fines for poaching. Now, Murray says he prefers scrambled or over easy, but if people want poached, well, I guess that's their right.
And outdoorsman Jimmy Holt says he is planning the first Sure Shot Cow Cookout as a replacement for the now-defunct Sure Shot Rabbit Supper. Holt says cows are easier to shoot because they don't move as fast, are generally a brighter color, making them easier to find, and they provide a lot more meat than your typical rabbit. And that's it for the Gridiron Sports Report.
Well, as you will notice, Eddie and I went out and changed coats during the half.
Back to black and white.
Chris was wrong about those birds. I've lost my place. I was still back at the mayor's exhaustion. Eddie, the Gridiron scripters this year had a few new names to work with, thanks to the decision of the voters at the polls in the last election. But do you think that our local government will ever have as big a turnover as First American National Bank?
Well, you know, maybe. But, John, it seems to me that I still see a lot of the same players still doing the same things. For instance, every time somebody says landfill, Ray Bell marches those Indians through Bell's Bend one more time.
Well, that's right. And there's a lot said by the same old people about the same old faces. Mac Smith says Peter Heidenreich is just as trashy as he ever was. Says that Peter's idea of recycling is to buy a new 10-speed bicycle.
Joe Rogers is still just as anxious to stamp out porn as he ever has been. There's a report that he was found late one night sneaking through the Bridgestone Masterworks exhibit with a flashlight because he had heard there was a nude painting of Drew Smith in there.
A nude of Drew Smith, that is obscene. I also hear that Joe Rogers was out to get Larry Schmitto arrested after he heard that a pitcher for the Nashville Sounds relieved himself on the mound.
About the only thing that's changed about Lamar Alexander is that Tom Ingram is all the way across town up there in Knoxville instead of in an adjoining office. And that may slow down the executive communications at UT a little bit, at least until they get the fax machine working, John.
Well, back here in Nashville, Partnership 2000 has changed just a little bit. The same pollster who predicted that the tax referendum would pass now says that with regard to Partnership 3000 to 2000, it'll be 3,000 before we get it going if we don't hurry. But he says that he has found that of all the 500,000 people in Nashville, there are 3 who understand what Music City Proud is all about.
That must be Bud Wendell, Bob McNeely, and Mike Rollins, John.
One thing that will never change, and that has to do with color. George Armstead will still be playing Santa Claus, and instead of those gray suits he wears year-round, he'll now look like Santa, a rainbow, coming into the council chamber.
There's another little change up there in the council chamber, probably. Councilman George Darden. He's had a very big disappointment. It may change him some. He found out that UFO he thought he had spotted was really Senator Ford cruising down Broadway.
And after a strong movement by Metro employees to put some distance between themselves and the mayor's office, there's a sudden rush to get on the mayor's staff. They found out that's where the money is.
And if and when Metro gets an independent auditor, it's almost a certainty that it will not be John Stone.
No, he's qualified to be purchasing agent.
Well, the only way we're going to find out for sure what's changing and what's not changing is to take a look at
The new kids on the block.
I'm looking for Hank Hiller. Where's that dang sheriff? I want him here now. I'm mad. Because he's trying to make all my court officers hit that little jar. No way.
We've had some good years here without you. Coming in and telling us what to do. Sniffing around here till you turn blue. All you will find is old barbecue. Looking for drugs in all the wrong places. Looking for drugs in courthouse cases. Searching away, looking for traces of what you've been swept under the rug. Hoping to bust or blow someone's cover. I wish that we could discover why you're here. Looking for drugs. Yours is a strange plan, it's bound to fail. If it's court officers you're trying to nail. And if you're not careful, you'll be making bail. So Hank, please, won't you get back to your jail? 'Cause you're looking for drugs in all the wrong places. Looking for drugs in courthouse cases. Searching away, looking for traces of what you think went under the rug. Hoping to bust the